Good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy day, so I'm excited to sit down and chat with you for a bit.
Yeah, it should be good. Things are a little bit messy in my world right now. We've just moved into a new house and we're like setting up televisions and
Oh yeah, the
putting
good
gear on the
stuff.
wall. I mean, just yeah, yeah. So you'll see there's just kind of stuff everywhere at the moment, but and I don't have an office set up as of yet either. So we're still working through it. But
Oh, that's no problem. Yeah, I rock the guest bedroom, so I get how
yeah,
that goes.
that's where I'm in the basement bedrooms at the moment. I'm going to sort through where I'm going to do this going forward. So I did send
Cool.
the outline. Basically, kind of what I wanted to focus on was the point systems and how guys can get a tag, um,
hmm
especially guys that are in my age group and potentially older, because it's a
hmm
thing. I didn't get started into some of this stuff until way later in life. Wish I'd have known what I knew then what I know now.
Yeah, for sure. There's some kind
So
of interesting threads to pull on that topic too. So I think
yeah,
this will
for
be
sure.
fun.
And I listened to you had a podcast with who was it? It was just last week.
Was it with Weston?
Yes,
Uh huh.
the East Coast guy from Michigan
Yeah, yeah.
or Wisconsin, wherever he was from. I did listen to that, and so what's interesting is a lot of what we were going to talk about, he actually covered in that. So if you're all right with it, I was going to reference that
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
episode.
reference it if you want, or we could talk about the same things because I have the memory of a goldfish, man. So I would probably
Okay,
even remember.
all right, no worries, but because you're going to put this on your content your as well, correct?
Yeah, if you're all
Yeah,
right with that, I would love to. Yeah,
yeah. So I don't want it to be redundant for your show. Does that make sense?
yeah, for sure.
So we'll cover some of the same stuff, but I'll kind of gloss over it a little bit because you covered a truckload in that for guys coming from the different areas of the U.S. So
Yeah,
so
that's
if
no
you're ready,
problem.
we just get going anytime you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
So introduce myself to you. My name is Brian Ludicky. I'm a police officer in the city of McCall, Idaho. 24 years at it. I'm going to retire next year. So hunting is my thing, and I started this little show just for guys my age to kind of go through some of the trials and tribulations and some of the stuff that we experience at this age, trying to stay in shape, trying to get a tag, trying to all the things that go with it, life and family and kids and now grandkids, etc. So we've been kind of going through some of those things. That's just been the impetus behind this and kind of the methodology. So
Oh,
that's
that's great,
me.
man. And congrats on 24 years doing what you're doing. I'm glad there's guys like you out there doing it. So
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
been a good career. I'm ready to hang it up though. It's getting
Yeah,
close.
I would imagine. I would imagine you're like
Yeah.
fine with being at the end of that rope.
Find me a part time job to pay for my hunting habit, and I'll be good to go.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
Yeah,
man. So how about you?
that's great. So I grew up in Northeast Oregon on a farm, my grandparents' farm. Mom was a single mom, and so we spent a ton of time out there. So luckily, grandparents they just kind of let me run around with a BB gun or then a 22 and then a shotgun and then a rifle, and
Hmm.
I've been hunting for long time compared to my age. Um, and then I went to college, and after I went to college, I realized like, oh, I don't have just like the old family haunts to go do. I got to go try to
Right.
learn different things. And um, fast forward a little bit, and I followed a gal out to Wyoming, and I realized, I knew Wyoming was this place where there was all sorts of hunting opportunity. And then I was like, well, dang it, I'm going to make good on it while I'm here. I didn't know how long I was going to be in Wyoming or not.
Yeah.
And I dove in deep. I became really good friends with a guy named Cody Rich, who has the Rich Outdoors podcast.
Whom I
Worked for him
follow.
for a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, he's put out some really good content.
Hmm.
And in 2019, we did this. We called it a 201 elk hunter series, like where I had been struggling to get an elk with my bow, and we created this whole series about it. And he mentored me through it. But that was kind of the launch into working in the hunting industry, and also that kind of sparked something that then set me into the rest of my 20s, basically diving as deep into Western hunting as I could go.
Right.
Whether it was reading books or interviewing guys or just talking to people that I would run into. I also worked in the conservation world, so I just went deep, man. It was my whole life for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and in doing that, I ended up helping some people on hunts and started guiding, and now I run a planning service, kind of like a travel agent for hunters. That's my own, and then I do some guiding in the fall. So
Right.
it's been a
And
long road to here.
yeah, and Jaden, that's where you and I kind of connected, was off of the Hunt West planning, because I'm planning a trip. Full disclosure, I'm planning a trip, and I'm going to be using your service to do some stuff here with my daughter for next year. So that's what kind of got this ball started.
Yeah, I appreciated you reaching out, man.
Yeah.
I think I feel really lucky that I started doing this stuff for fun, just because I really like helping people out. And like I think I told you this in a message. I was like, man, I just want to make sure you get
Mm-hmm.
good information,
Yeah.
like to go have a good hunt with your kids, man. That's like
Yeah.
some of my best memories of all time have been through hunting. And I realize it's a vehicle for a lot more than just going and doing the thing,
Yeah. I mean, you
you
get to
know?
do it with your kids, especially as adults now. It brings a whole new meaning to it for me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so that's kind of where we're at. But so the basis of today's show was basically I wanted to go through and talk to you about tags specifically, and how guys my age, we'll start with that, can obtain a tag every year for wherever they want to go. I'm fortunate. I live in the state of Idaho, so I can get resident tags.
Hmm.
But there's other places to go, and there's guys that live in California or Washington or back east. They have to apply.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
and as you
Especially
get
for elk
older,
hunters, right?
yes, as you get older,
Yeah.
if you didn't start in the point system like I didn't, the point system in Colorado, some other places, started in the 1990s. I didn't understand what that was, or even what the process was to obtain a tag. We hunted Idaho,
Yeah. Dude,
so
it's funny. It's funny. So I think Oregon's preference point game is somewhere in the mid 20s. And I was talking to my grandpa when I was visiting him in May. Still lives in Eastern Oregon. And he's like, man, I just don't know why I haven't drawn for a few years. And I was like, Grandpa, are you buying points? He's like, what's that? I'm like, dude, this has been, he's like, well, I could just go every other year or something. And I just assumed. And I was like, dang it, Grandpa. Like, he's still never learned the system.
yeah,
And, the unit he grew up in, he still loves to go back and archery hunt elk in it. And he, just found out about the tag system. So it's not like,
mm-hmm.
it's super common knowledge that every single person who hunts has to have this information, because I think that kind of underscores the point that there's a lot of opportunity hunts too that don't take 20 years to apply,
Right.
and get the tag.
And
That's the
that's the
stuff I
thing. Yeah,
focus a lot on. Yeah.
that's the big thing, right? Because I'm 50. I turned 54 yesterday. So,
Happy
hey,
birthday.
thanks. So for me to get a 20-year tag puts me out at 74.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, doing the odds game may or may not make it that far. You just don't know, right? And so
Yeah.
I want to get guys that can get a tag, go someplace, have a great hunt, and go from there. I'll give you an example. I drew a tag in Utah, in the south central part of the state, in kind of a nothing unit,
For
uh,
deer or elk, are we
for
talking
deer.
about?
Yeah, for deer.
Okay.
Kind
Yeah.
of a nothing unit for deer. Pretty low success ratios. You know, not super high buck to doe ratios. Not a giant population of deer, but I'm like, what the hell? I drew it on the random.
Oh,
And,
nice.
yeah, so I went down there, I did the research, I figured it out. I went down there and shot a really nice buck.
Nice.
So I want guys to
That's
be able to do
that's
that.
that's definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of it is just getting in the game and realizing like there's especially where there's a random element, and trying to play those odds to pick
Right.
up a random element. So a state like Wyoming or Utah has that piece going on. And for instance, I had a friend of mine, he just left Wyoming, And he was like, dude, he went back to Colorado where he's from. And he was like, man, I always wanted to hunt a pronghorn tag, but I didn't get a chance to do that while I was a resident. What can I do now?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, brother, let's look at the random odds. And the hunt that we found for him was a good, like kind of mid-tier hunt. It didn't take a ton of points to force the draw, but it also wasn't easy to get. And I saw that he had like 20 something percent odds in the random. And I was like, dude, try this. And
Yeah.
he's going pronghorn hunting this year, like the first year
That's
without waiting.
that's freaking awesome
You know?
because that makes it all worthwhile, right? Guys like me are not
Yeah.
going to have a ton of points. I think I have 6, so I'm going to buy my point this month. So seven Wyoming points, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to go hunting. I don't want to just sit on points. It's not my goal.
Yeah, exactly. I've had this challenge with my original home state of Oregon, trying to go back and burn my deer points, and I keep going like, do I maximize the use of this tag? Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. I've got 10 points or whatever. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And I continually come back to the fact that I'm like, I'm probably going to bring a family member or one of my best friends like into a really low
Right.
point unit and try to time it up so somebody else I know can hunt it the year after and try to help somebody else, based on whatever
Right.
knowledge I gain. I think that's so much, we get so tangled up in like, we've been applying for so long, so we must be guaranteed this certain outcome.
It's not.
And every experience I've had is just like, even when you're in a quote unquote like good unit or like an incredible unit, like some of them that I've had the pleasure of guiding,
Mm-hmm.
it's like still hunting, man. It's still hunting and it
Sure.
can be brutal, you
Yeah,
know?
I lived in one of the best deer units. We just moved out of the area, but I've lived in Unit 22 in Idaho.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you're familiar with that unit, it's a draw
Yeah.
only in Hell's Canyon, and it's a rut hunt. So it's the 10th to the 24th of November, and I see good bucks in there all the time. But you still have to hunt them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you still have to go find them. It's not easy.
And it seems like everybody who waits that long, just like that much time builds this pressure.
Mm-hmm.
This whether it's due or undue, like I have a friend of mine, he hasn't been waiting that long, but he has a 270 Montana tag, like the best Montana deer tag
Ooh,
this year.
yeah,
And he's over here like he's gone scouting twice and he's over here like, man, should I wait for a 200-inch buck, blah blah blah. He's like, I don't even know what a 200-inch deer looks like. And I was like, dude, don't just go see what's out there first. Like just go
yeah.
experience the place,
Go hunting
Don't get
and enjoy
go
it.
hunting.
Yeah,
If you see a buck that makes you happy, like go do that. But
bingo. That's my thing. Go
yeah.
find something that cranks your tractor and go do that.
Yeah. And if you don't find something like that on one of these crazy special hunts, then yeah, exactly. It's no big deal.
You're better for the experience.
And you've got to hunt a place that not a whole lot of people
Keep,
do get to
right.
hunt. And that's
Yeah.
special in and of itself. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the application process that of itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, the resident process is different. So let's focus specifically on a non-resident because if you live in a Western state that's got resident tags, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
But let's go off of a guy in the mid 50s, little to no points, has no idea what the process looks like. What do we do?
So first, I would want to basically ask you, like, are you trying to go in 2026 or 2025? And then I'd also say, like, let's pick a state
Yeah.
because you can find things to fit what you're trying to do. Heck, you could even do it. I mean, it's July of 2025. You could find opportunities to go hunt this fall. It just might not fit what your dream hunt was in the original,
Right.
formation of your plans. Um, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think that a lot of people are just kind of romantic about what they want instead of being realistic about what's available.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say if you're a non-resident and you're applying in a state like Idaho or New Mexico, it's largely a completely random draw. And so maybe let's like not talk about those two states for a sec because those are the two without point systems.
Okay.
Every other state, it's like, all right, man, let's see what you can get either through the random process of the draw and how you can use points for multiple species to
Mm-hmm.
start improving your odds, get yourself in the front of the line, right? So you can look at a state like Colorado, for instance, where they just got rid of all of the over-the-counter elk for archery,
Archery, right?
and you can look at the drawing odds. I'm actually not sure if they've come out yet this year, but um, you can look at those and see where you can actually get what they call like a second choice tag.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go on this hunt that has maybe more people out there, but you still get to go and have an experience and have a
Mm-hmm.
good chance at getting an elk in this case or a deer. And you can still build on a preference point for future opportunities for like maybe you go out in archery season one year and then in a couple years you want to be out there in the limited first rifle, which is a better experience and maybe more in your wheelhouse.
Right.
Um, so I think starting by choose that state, get started in the process of like understanding how they do it, and then be thinking about the long term, right? Like that, it's just building a strategy for not just next year, but for multiple years down the road is where a lot of that comes into play.
Okay, very good. So in my
Yeah,
particular case, I got into the points thing, started really researching other states, and it started during COVID for me, just because we were still working and we were still working, but I,
yeah,
I wanted to get out and do some other things, and kids were grown up and moved away at this point, brand new empty nest. So I started looking at Montana and started looking at, well, what's Wyoming look like? And so I started going to all these websites and researching it, and that was when my mind went, and
yeah.
so I started my particular case. My strategy was I want to get in the system for as many states that I possibly can,
Hmm.
and then start whittling those down to when what year I'm going to hunt that particular state. So, um, like I have points in Montana and Wyoming, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, which at my age probably will never happen, but you never know. And Oregon.
Okay,
So I've already
perfect.
checked Utah off the list. I won't. I don't need to go back and do that one again, although it was fun. But I want to go different places,
Yeah,
see different parts of the U.S. places I've never been to. Right. So that
yeah.
was my strategy. And so I'm looking at the randoms, and I'm looking at the lower point stuff that I don't need a cajillion points to draw a tag. So I'm looking for
And
the
I
experience.
I like that. If you can have the budget to do that kind of strategy, spread the field out,
Mm-hmm.
I think that really sets you up for a long term. When I say, or let's call it medium term, the next
Yeah,
five
medium
to ten
term.
years,
Yep.
that really sets you up good, man. Montana's like 1 in every 3 years to guarantee.
Yep.
With some random, you've got Colorado that you can go as often as you want, depending on if you want to rotate between deer and elk.
Right.
uh, Wyoming's more in the midpoints, kind of realm, that 5 to 6, 7. But you talk about being a multi-species hunter, which is probably the category I'd put myself in. And it takes like 3 states, and I'm
It's
booked for
expensive.
like
Right.
the next. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm budget maxed out, and
Yeah.
I've also maximized the opportunities that I would need for the next 10 years. Like,
Right.
um, but for a long time, and I've actually got a spreadsheet when I started really doing this. So in 2018, I started doing my home state of Wyoming at the time. Or sorry, I added Wyoming because I moved there in 2018, and then I had Oregon, Colorado, and Nevada. I'm a deer guy. Kind of when I go on my own personal hunts, it's usually a deer hunt,
Yeah. Me too.
and so I did all of those for $632 that year. I've got the spreadsheet sitting right here.
Have you?
So it's one of those things like, okay, is $632 a lot to you? Yes or no? Then like, and you also should probably think about how that fits in your budget for the full year, but then acknowledge the fact that some of that stuff comes out at different times, right?
Right.
Like a Wyoming elk applications in January, their deer and antelope applications aren't due till basically June.
Yeah.
So that cost is spread out basically across 6 months.
Right.
So it just depends on how you want to budget for it as to how many you can really put in there.
Right. And I'm like you. I'm looking at deer hunts for me specifically, but if you're a multi uh, species hunter, then you probably have to rein that in. So,
Yeah. Well, and then there's some states that I really enjoy being able to just get preference points for and
Hmm.
not having to fork over the money on accidentally drawing the tag.
Right.
Like Colorado and Oregon are two good examples. Nevada, I mean, you can just do points there too.
Right.
You can just do points in Wyoming and Montana as well. So it's just like one of those things where you just have to adjust your kind of dates and your budget according to what you're trying to make happen.
Yeah. So, in your estimate, looking at that stuff, in terms of getting a tag every year, which is the best systems to look into?
To force the draw, it'd be like Colorado and probably Wyoming to
Okay.
to force the draw. Yeah, I think when you look at Montana, it's just complicated enough that uh, it's not guaranteed, but there's a really good chance the way that
Right.
they structure it. So it's hard to know. Like I got a Montana deer tag as a non-resident this year without ever applying before, and I was like, well, shoot, that wasn't really planning on that.
Right.
But then obviously, then Colorado went and the whole Point Creek conversation maybe is something we should touch on. But
Right.
Colorado went and I didn't, and more people hopped in there this year than I had expected, so I didn't get my Colorado tag. So it ended
Is
up being okay.
is that because of the changes they're making for 2028?
I would expect it has something to do with that. Like more people were thinking just like me and were like, "Hey, let's burn these things before they
Right.
change the system." Um,
Because the way that
yeah, it's
looks,
hard to
yeah, and
predict.
the way it looks for the 2028, it was going to benefit people like me.
Yes,
The
yeah,
way I read it, and the way I see it. If you want to explain that a little
yeah.
bit as to what's going to happen, because not everybody's up to speed.
So uh, the last I remembered reading was it was going to be 50% bonus point system. So it's basically like you get an additional raffle ticket into
Hmm.
the hat, but it's never guaranteed if you have a bonus point. And then the other 50% will be pure preference, like it is now. If you're have the most time waiting, then you get the tag.
All right.
But for guys like, in this case, guys like you who are like, man, I don't think I'll ever have the chance to get to the top of the heap for an area 10, unit 10 tag.
Hmm.
I, I'm not even going to try. Well, now there's a world where you could have a chance at getting that tag, and it might give you something to have on the sidelines as like this might happen.
I could
I'm
almost
I'm
get
not
this. Yeah.
I could yeah, and obviously the odds are going to be bad no matter
No matter
how
what.
the system breaks down
Hmm.
because there's just too many people and not enough supply.
Right.
But it can give you some hope at least.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like Nevada, right? So Nevada is a wish and a prayer. I mean, even with high point holders, your draw odds success is very low
Yeah,
of drawing a tag. So, but if I ever did draw one, it would
yeah.
be awesome, right? It'd be an excellent good place to go do some deer hunting. So,
Oh, for sure. And we can talk a little more about that offline. I've got some thoughts. I looking at the odds. I mean, I'm in that 6, 7. Let's see, I'll be at 7 points this year in
hmm.
Nevada, and like for archery, there's a lot of tags that I are just short of the guarantee in their
Right.
system. I should be able to get.
They'll pull a
So
tag.
yeah,
Yeah.
just depends on what you're looking for out of the
Right.
hunt too. So
And that's a lot of it. I think for guys, and there's some horn hunters out there, guys my age, whatnot, right? But I think for
yeah,
I'm gonna speak for a vast number of guys that we just want to go out and have a good experience,
yep,
right?
yep,
Find a good mature age class deer, something that's representative of the species, and have a good time. So,
certainly.
and I think that's the what I'm trying to with this particular episode. I'm trying to draw that line for guys. If you want to
Well,
go
and one of the
find, yeah,
things, yeah, and one of the things like for those guys who are like horn hunters, people who like to have like a certain quality of experience when they're out. Um, Look, I do too. Like I get it, but I just understand that I'm not in a financial position or willing to wait that long. Like I
right,
want to be hunting.
mm-hmm,
But I was just doing the math and like I have a friend of mine who he didn't draw where thought he was going to this year, and so he bought a landowner tag in Nevada, and I think it was $4,500. Yeah,
oof.
and
Yeah, I don't have that. I'm a public servant. I don't have those types of
yeah, yeah.
resources.
But I loved, what you were talking about on part one of the financial planning is
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so if you do set aside $200 a month,
Right.
and you're like, I'm going to go to Nevada one time, but this is my Nevada budget to buy a landowner tag one day.
Mm-hmm.
10 years down the road, you're looking pretty good. You're going to
Yeah.
have a really good hunt. So it just depends on what those goals are, right? Like, and if you want to dedicate, and I loved when you guys are talking about this, um, basically it's a lot like losing weight. Everyone knows the formula, and very few people know how to stick to it. So
Yeah, because it's hard,
it's,
right? Yeah.
it is hard. It is hard,
That's what makes it special,
but
though, is that. So,
yeah.
talking about point systems and the different, what's the advantages to the point system states versus the random states, and then
So
conversely, what's the disadvantages of that as well?
yeah, man, in theory, the point system states are going to allow you to force the draw eventually. Like eventually, you will be at the top of the heap and be the first person in line to go on this hunt. You've waited long enough.
Right.
Um, where that falls apart though is when you're trying to maximize your points, and so are everybody else.
Right.
And the amount that it takes increases the next year. So that's happened to me 3 times in Colorado. What you would have to do then, which is actually it's the number one thing I'm preaching to everybody else, and then I haven't done myself, is essentially take however many points you're at, and the hunts you're looking at, you should be conservative with whether or not you're going to force the draw that year. So I'm at 7 points this year. I went for a tag that drew out at 7 points last year, and it crept up one, and I was like,
Of
God
course.
dang it!
Yeah. Here we go. Right.
Yeah, here we go. If I'd have just gone, and which is actually what I'm talking about doing with a friend of mine who lives there, I'm just gonna go, throw that game plan out the window and go for a 4 point hunt. I'm gonna have 4 years
Okay.
extra of waiting that I didn't need to wait, but because of the rotation, I've been hunting the whole time and I haven't missed out on anything. So
Okay.
that's the benefit of the point system.
Okay.
And again, to your point on that, you could, and with the whole point creep conversation, you could end up behind the 8 ball on this one particular unit that you want to go to and not ever get it.
Yeah.
So
I have
like
a
I
friend
said,
in that position right now in Utah. He's got elk points in Utah, and I think he has 23, 22, or 23 points. And every year he puts in, it goes up one. He's
oh yeah,
he's been unable to draw this tag.
yeah. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is the completely random states, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could go. This has happened to me in Wyoming for years. I wanted to hunt this local whitetail buck tag that is just outside my backyard, and it's a 50% draw. I'm 6 years in, and I haven't
You
ever
still
got
haven't
the
gotten
the
it.
50%. I haven't got the 50% draw. So I was like, man, this is not how the odds should work. However, I'm also a lucky tag holder of a cow moose tag this year that was like 3%. So
Ooh, congratulations.
you take, thank you. You take the good with the bad in these
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Like some days you're going to be the lucky winner and they're going to pull your name when they shouldn't. And then some days you're going to be 5 years, 6 years down the road on a 50% odds and not get your name pulled still. So it
Right.
just depends, obviously, how that all shakes out.
And so the disadvantages to the random system being it's just a percent, and you have no way
Yeah.
of guaranteeing you're going to get it.
Yeah. There's like this mathematical fallacy, and I don't remember the name of it, but basically people will say like, well, if it's 50%, then next year I'm going to get it if I don't get it this year.
Right.
But it's not how it works. It's 50% every try,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't compound on itself. So that's where the random systems, I hear it all the time in Wyoming because our residents have a random system for deer and elk, and they'll be like, God, I've been putting in for this unit for 20 years. And then someone who's a non-resident has been applying for 10 and was able to get it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want the point game still. I'd
No,
rather have the random.
yeah, I think that Idaho's the way their system's going to work for 2026 is going to be to everybody's benefit on the
Mm-hmm.
non-resident side, and I'm hearing some. We'll see what happens with it, but I'm hearing that some of the quota tags, even for residents, will go that way as well.
Oh, cool.
So,
That'd be good.
like the Selway and some of the other elk tags that are hard, that can be difficult to get because of the low numbers of them. It sounds like they might do those as a controlled hunt.
I generally speaking like that, and it's probably because I'm most of the time. if I'm banking on going someplace,
Hmm.
I'm gonna put in for something in the mid tier or low interest type hunts.
Right.
If I'm like, I gotta go, I want to go, like this is my year to go. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go that direction. And you don't lose anything year to year by doing that in a
Right.
random system, you know.
Yeah. 100%. So talking
So,
about these different states, and I covered, and I sent you the outline, but covered. This is a
mhm.
two-part series, and the first part was basically financial planning. I sat down with a guy who does financial planning and kind of went through how to save and make this work from an annual basis and then a long-term basis. So that
Mhm.
said, some of the different states have different rules, so they have require you to pay up front, or others you don't. And what's your what's your take on some of that?
So I uh I was an economics guy in college, and I think when states add more barriers, like having you pay up front,
Hmm.
it's going to improve the odds, right? It's going to weed out people who can't front that money or maybe shouldn't front the money.
Right.
Um, and so it can improve, the chance of getting the tag. I just think about like if Wyoming didn't have you front the fees, I can only imagine like how much more the demand would be.
I
So
hadn't even
that's
thought of that.
yeah, because I mean, man, you're fronting an $800 elk
Hmm.
tag. If you're doing special, it's $2,000 elk tag. Like
I
you got to
know.
front that money, and it's still taking a while to draw these things, which is wild. Um, so that's one. That's the bonus of it, right? And then
Hmm.
obviously the negative of it being that like then it immediately stretches your budget
Right.
thinner at the front, which is not great.
Makes it
But
tougher to potentially put in for other states. I would,
yeah, absolutely.
and I
The
fell into
funny
that.
thing,
So
yeah,
when the year I drew
yeah.
the Utah tag, I also drew uh, Montana on the
Oh
random,
yeah.
and I was like, oh, that was expensive.
Was it the combo
A
or
deer combo, a
okay?
deer license. Yeah.
Yeah, Montana's deer license. I that happened exactly the same to me. I didn't expect to get it this year. I did. And it was $831 including the license fee. And I was just like, oh
Oh,
crap, dude.
ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my Colorado and I'm going to Alaska here at the beginning of August. Or
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
the beginning of August. Colorado and Alaska tags were the same price as my unexpected Montana license, and I was like, "Oh shoot! Like this is, I got to start digging under the pillows." I actually have been selling some of my old clothes like on online to try to like
So they
make
get
up
this.
some more of this hunting money. Yeah, because I'm just like, oh, that was unintentional. So that is maybe the downside of the systems that don't have you pay up front is it's easy to accidentally overspend.
Yeah. So we covered point creep a little bit, but just for people who
Yeah.
don't understand it, just what is point creep, and how bad is it getting?
So point creep essentially occurs, especially in these states where you can buy points and you don't have to apply. In a world where people are sitting on the sidelines and waiting until they hit a certain point threshold,
Right.
and then they're jumping in. When they do that, let's say they offer 10 tags in whatever pool this is, and all of a sudden 10 people jump in who have 1 point more than it took last year. There's none left for the point level that drew it the previous
Right.
season. It's it can be pretty brutal. Like I said, it's got me 3 times in Colorado because I'm the worst at trying to maximize my opportunity. I tell everyone not to. Um, but it's because I tell everyone not to because it keeps happening to me and I should have learned by now. Um, and the first year that happened, it was like I had 80, there was 82% of the people with my point level drew.
Hmm.
And I was like, nice, that's pretty good odds for next year. Well, then the following year, it was 17% and I didn't draw. I was like, dang it. Well, I'll get it next year. And then the season dates changed. And then it jumped to, instead of 2 points, it jumped to 5 for that unit. And I was like, oh, God.
Uh,
And last I looked, man, that specific hunt that I'm talking about, it went up to like 8 points or something, and it was still further. And I'm half dozen years past that point. Um, the other piece of the point creep conversation to understand too is one of the biggest driving factors of that happening is
Mm-hmm.
also a decrease in tags. So whether it's Wyoming's antelope or deer hunts or Colorado's deer hunts and some elk hunts, like where that big winter hit, they cut a bunch of tags back.
Right.
That's just going to exacerbate things as there's less supply and more demand, or the same amount of demand, um, and it just makes
Yeah.
that system work less good. Where it really works nicely is when you have tags are the same, the number of people applying is the same, or the tags are increasing.
Okay.
So one thing as someone who's applying is if you're watching what the agencies are doing, this is why it's really nice to choose one state to pay attention to. But if you're watching what the
Okay.
agencies are doing, whether they're increasing tags or decreasing tags, it
Right.
can give you a little bit of insight as to what to expect in the draws. Like Wyoming right now, largely is increasing their pronghorn licenses after having a bunch of drought and then the hard winter. Last 2 years have been really good for pronghorn. So you'll see those opportunities increase and drawability is increasing right now. So that's nice.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Um, so, what's the challenges for old guys getting into these systems?
Man, I think the challenge, especially when you get so far down the road of like, getting used to a system or maybe not knowing how the system works, you look at these things and you feel like it's super daunting. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, I got to keep track of bonus points, preference points, this state's deadline, that state's deadline. What are they doing tags? And that's where I'm always like, man, just take it one bite at a time. Pick one state and one species. And there's so many good resources on the internet, whether it's YouTube, or it's podcasts, or
Right.
there's just like filtering services, whether it's like the Onyx service or the Go Hunt or the Eastman's Tag Hub. Like all these different things will help you sort through it. So go try to find the resources that will help you out, and don't just look at the agency website and say this is too complicated. I can't do this, because the
Yeah.
agency websites are
Terrible.
not very helpful.
No, they're
Yeah,
terrible, and the books are worse.
yeah, across the board too. It's not just one state.
Mm-mm.
It's just ends up being so complicated, and they have to, through their legally binding reasons, they have to make
Mm-hmm.
sure it's all there at one time, and that's not how our brain processes.
No,
So
it's just like it's mind numbing to try to figure it out. And that was my biggest
yeah.
hurdle, was just try to understand. And I made the mistake, I guess, of after listening to you, I made the mistake of getting involved in a bunch of states all at once.
Well, it's easy to do, man, and it's I still am tempted by the devil on my shoulder to add in other states. This year was the first year I've ever bought any points in Arizona, and well, if you include my Oregon time, I'm 18 years down the road into points. So
Yeah.
it's definitely like there's always someone who wants. I have a friend who has a place in Florida, and he was wanting me to put in for points for a sandbar hunt off the coast of Florida. I was like, brother, I have to draw the line somewhere. Like we can't just keep adding these operations.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't end up with. I don't have enough budget or time to do them. So it's important to know where that line is and just be good with that for a little bit. Be like, look, 3 states is it.
Right.
Wyoming, Montana, Colorado. That's it. And then I'm going to be good with that for 5 years or until
Right.
budget opens up or
It,
time opens up.
and so what I'm doing is I've peeled these states off my bucket list. I'm done with it, the kind of thing. I'm not going back in that system. So,
Yeah.
but I also
That's what you
hunt.
were saying about Utah too, right?
Yeah.
Like Utah, you probably did you see the price increases, and
Mm-hmm.
that basically was like the last straw, the final straw.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't. There was no way. I was gonna. I can't fathom paying that for for a tag down there. So, especially living in Idaho, but I did
Yeah.
check that off my bucket list, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, that's huge.
so, and then I also hunt eastern. I'm going to Virginia in November for whitetails. So,
Man, you've got your fall basically perfectly bookended.
booked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, man.
So,
And that's the thing is like man, thief is the comparison of, or no, joy is, how does that work? Comparison is the thief of happiness. That's the
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
And I think that's the downside of listening to all these podcasts and YouTube and whatever else, seeing people do 5, 6 states a year, you're like, oh well, if they're doing that, I should be too. And it's like,
Right.
man, you're not making a living doing this stuff. Like, don't put yourself in the same
No,
box as
it's
those
a
guys.
it's fun. I mean, it's freezer meat and it's fun, right? So,
Yeah,
um, and also I don't hunt elk out of state because I live in Idaho and there's elk everywhere. So,
yeah, exactly. You
so
got plenty of opportunity in the
for
home
sure.
state to fill the
Fill the
freezer. Yeah,
freezer, and I've got good opportunities with landowner permits and stuff like that for cow elk and whatnot for freezer meat. So I can focus on deer hunting.
yeah, that's what
Um,
I'm talking about.
yeah.
Are you? I'm curious if this is the case with you. Whenever I go out of state, I uh, I usually am like looking for adventure. I'm like trying to
Mm-hmm.
maximize my time there.
Yep.
And I rarely shoot a deer. I'll shoot deer at home in my home state because it's like I'll have enough days put in that I'm like, okay, time to get one. Um, but do you run into that too, where you're
Yeah. Well,
not pulling
I'm
tags
all
out of
about the
state as
adventure.
often?
I like to go to different places and see different things and different country places I've never been and kind of do
Mm-hmm.
that and then make a trip of it. And then the hunting side of it is the bonus, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually book myself out enough time that I'm the chances of success are a lot higher because I give myself plenty of time to do that. And I'm
Yeah,
not looking for, I'm not Robbie Denning. You know, I, I've shot some nice bucks, but that's not my, I want to go have a good time and I want to find, like I said, a good representation of that, whatever species we're hunting. So,
yeah. Well, that's a recipe for having an enjoyable hunt, no matter where you're at.
yeah, it's just fun. It's just a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hunt with my kids, but when I'm not hunting with my kids, I generally solo, generally by myself. So, on some of these deals.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome, man.
to kind of not wrap this up, but to kind of wrap up this particular side of the topic was just real quick bullet points for guys and their ability to draw a tag, like the recipe for success to
Mm-hmm.
get a tag in different places and have a good hunt every year.
Step one would be, if you can, find someone who knows the system that can break it down really easily for you.
Mm,
Not just the guy who like says he knows what it's going on, but like who can explain it in a way that makes sense.
sense.
Um, I think a lot of people, especially like in a Colorado situation, they're like, "Ah, we just do over the counter all the years, blah blah blah," and you're like,
Mm,
"Okay, well, that's not a strategy for the long term." So if you can, if you can find someone who is knowledgeable and has done it before, um, as a resource, that'd be the first step, right? Like,
right.
be your fastest way to learning the system. I hope that my grandpa allows me to do that for him here very soon.
Yeah.
Some days are getting less and less.
What's this? What's a
Uh,
point?
God, Grandpa, I do this for a living, man. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, uh, it's just pretty funny. Anyway, if you can't find a good mentor or a good resource, then I would say, find whatever medium that you learn the best in and go get good resources that direction. Just doing a Google search of like Colorado, how do I draw a Colorado tag every year? And you'll get either Randy Newberg or Hunt and Fool or some other resource that's put stuff out on the internet
Mm,
before that'll help you break it down. Once you've done that, then I think you can go into the agency's website and start getting a feel for what it's actually like back there. And I would be doing that if you wanted to hunt 2026. I'd be starting to learn that stuff now.
no.
Now,
Mm,
um, because that's gonna it every time, man. Someone's gonna put it off. They've got too many things going on, and then at 11:59 on the night of this due date, they're like, "Oh crap, I forgot to do that," and I don't know where I'm putting in, and then they either don't put in at all, which continues the cycle of them not getting these adventures they want,
right.
or they put in for something they didn't realize. I just had a text message today of these boys who put in for private land only pronghorn tags in Wyoming, and they didn't
Oh,
realize they're private land only. And I was just like, "Oh man, like that's not a mistake you want to make because there's no turn back system in Wyoming or anything." So,
ouch.
um, yeah, so just understanding that one
Right.
again, just keep it to one state at a time. If you want to buy points in other states before you understand them, that's cool. Wyoming and Montana and Oregon, for example, they all have just a point period where you can just buy points. You don't have
Right.
to go through the whole application deal. That's a good backup plan for those. Um, then once you start getting really nerdy into it, you can find little backdoor ways to get opportunities. Um, like Colorado's got their leftover reissue list that's coming up in August. You can pick up tags there.
Mm-hmm.
Idaho has one as well,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I picked up a tag on that last year. Uh, the other state, Montana, also has a similar system. It's a little different, but I won't get into the details on that one. It's a little complicated. So there's ways that you can find opportunity
Okay.
even outside of the draws, the formal draws. And I'd suggest people look into those when they're choosing one specific state. Look into what other backdoor methods there are into getting a tag.
I'm getting a tag.
Yeah,
Cool. That's what we guys like us need to know, because as we get older and stuff, I want to be in the field hunting. I don't want to sit on a pile of points, and I don't, and I would like to go on some of these adventures, because that's literally what they are. Um,
yeah, absolutely. And if you have that mindset like you do, Brian, like I was just poo pooing over the counter tags just a couple seconds ago,
mhm.
but I sure think there's some great over the counter opportunities while you're getting ready to go on these the hunts
Yeah.
you really really want. Whether it's a you can get a fall bear tag in most western states over the counter, and they're not usually too expensive. And go learn a place before you go deer or elk hunt it. Make sure it's like
Right.
what you want. Same with some cow hunting opportunities, like in Montana. There's a
Hmm.
bunch of them. Um, just some different ways to be thinking outside the box. It doesn't have to, like we started talking about, it doesn't have to fit the romantic view of whatever
Right.
your dream hunt was right out of the gate.
And you talked to his name Weston.
Yeah, Weston, Homa.
In the previous podcast, you talked about that and hunting some of that lower land country in different places that wasn't your quintessential elk country, but ended up having a great trip. So
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
kind of thing we should
absolutely.
be looking for, as my opinion.
I sure think so too. And at the end of the day, like I don't want to tell every person that they have to have a whole bunch of money to come do this. That's definitely not the case. Understand you're going to be working against other factors. If, for instance, you can't pay for access in an area and you want to go right away, or you can't buy a landowner tag in Nevada and
Right.
jump in front of the line, like certainly if you can build the budget and be smart with your finances between here and there, that's
Hmm.
going to help open doors for you too.
Right.
So don't forget that part of the equation along the way.
Perfect. Some in your mind, so Colorado and Wyoming are some of the better two to be looking at.
Yeah, especially for deer hunters, I'd say so. Montana's got some great elk opportunity, and Montana, I would so if you're a deer guy, I'd say Colorado, Wyoming. If you're an elk guy, I'd say Colorado, Montana.
Okay.
Just in the ease of getting the tag. That'd be how I'd split those two up.
Okay. Awesome. How about
Yeah.
antelope?
Man, Wyoming is the antelope state, even though, like I was saying, tags are quite a bit fewer than they
They
were
were.
5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gosh, there's a ton of them. Uh, if you're an archery guy, then you open up a lot more opportunity, whether it's an over the counter archery antelope tag in Colorado or
Right.
an unlimited in Idaho or the
Right.
900 series in Montana. There's some really easy opportunities if you're an archery guy to go pronghorn hunting, and I think those get overlooked pretty often. And
Yeah.
hopefully, me saying this on podcast doesn't do away with that.
That's right. I
But
have a small listenership. It's not going to. And
I
I do
appreciate it.
most of my hunting is done with some form of a muzzleloader. So that's my end.
That's what I saw. You did a big muzzleloader podcast
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago. I gotta
Yep.
go back and listen. I just got a muzzleloader for myself, and I'm excited to try it out. So
Yeah.
whether
So
it's
it's
my home state of Oregon or Colorado or Montana,
yeah.
Idaho, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and I've hunted
sweet.
that's almost predominantly now, and on that podcast you referenced, we were talking about a buddy of mine who's building my smokeless muzzleloader. So it's basically a 45 caliber muzzleloader, but pushing a 300 grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second.
Jeez Louise, man, that's
Yeah, so it's a
crazy.
general rifle hunt, right? It's not a muzzleloader hunt, but I'm using that technology to do that. And I hunt with like black powder in other places and whatnot. So that's my hobby.
Dude, I love that. And that's maybe a good final point is like a lot of people enter the game as rifle hunters, like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But the more um, weapons you can be proficient with, the more opportunity you
More
can open up.
opportunity, right?
Whether it's compound bow. There's states that are doing a lot of traditional archery stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or muzzleloader stuff. Man, it's really once you break out of the rifle mold, you can really open up some
Really
cool
open up some things,
opportunities.
and that's one of the things that for the muzzleloaders for me to also open some doors that wouldn't
Yeah, it's
ordinarily. And truthfully, too, it's actually literally opened up some doors because there's some landowners and different ranchers and stuff out there that get inundated during the rifle season. They don't really want anybody out there, but you get somebody with the traditional archery or muzzleloader or whatever, and they don't get that very often. They just think it's something different. It's cool, and they're not overrun with them. So I got some
yeah,
doors,
that's sweet.
some gates opened to me as well from that aspect. So
Man, I never thought of it that way. That's a great point. Maybe don't grow your listenership here. Let's keep this between us. I'm just kidding.
it's
That's a really good point.
yeah, because and it's just treated a little bit differently. Or at least that's been my experience. So
Yeah, that's
um,
great, man.
wrap it up. A couple of final questions, some called snapshot questions for you if you're good.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's your favorite animal to hunt and why?
Man, mule deer. I've
Yes,
got one sitting behind me,
I see it.
and maybe it's just because that's what I grew up. That was like the first big game animal I shot, and then I picked up a bow, and this is the first animal I shot with a bow, and I just have gotten like enamored with them.
Mhm.
Um, and I know this is kind of weird, but the state of mule deer not being in the historical highs as what they
Right,
used to be is actually kind of appealing to me because it's such a challenge to find an older age class one.
it is.
Um, it's not everyone's doing it, and that makes it really appealing to me to go do that challenge. So yeah, mule
Yeah,
deer is kind of what I go after whenever I go on a hunt for myself in particular.
nice. I'm a mule deer fan as well. I do those hunts as often as I can get a tag, and if I'm not hunting mule deer, I'm hunting whitetails. So
That's
um,
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, well, whitetails are another one. I think, especially in the West, I'm getting like I was saying earlier about my
mm-hmm.
tag out my backyard. Like I'm getting the bug to try to get a good
I
whitetail still.
I have a
So
good time shooting whitetails. If I don't draw a good mule deer tag, that's where you'll find me is in the whitetail woods somewhere.
that's awesome,
Yeah,
man. I love that.
the bucket list hunt and why?
Man, I will say I've been really lucky to go on incredible hunts. I don't know that I have too much that I'm like just jonesing for. Probably a mountain goat hunt, and the nice thing about that is I know it could be attainable with some good budgeting. Um,
Yeah,
so mountain goat is real up there for me for sure.
that's awesome. Yeah, there's some. If you ever draw an Idaho tag, let me know.
Okay,
I've talked more, but I've got some spots. So
sounds good. That may or may not have been my application this year. So
if you ever
in
draw, if you
Idaho.
ever draw, let me know. I know some spots.
Okay,
So,
sounds great.
uh,
Yeah.
and last but not least, but what's your favorite hunting memory?
I really cherish like this deer hunt my brother and I did. Um, it was only a few years ago in 2022, but he drew a non-resident tag in Wyoming. And so I scouted my butt off because I wanted to make sure both of us got bucks and decent bucks. And I found this deer on July 16th in 2022, and he was pretty dang nice. I was like, all right, that's my number one buck. And I kept looking. I didn't really find anything else that was like in his caliber. And so I hunted that deer for like tried to find him for like 12 days in archery season. Could not find him. Could not find him. And my brother came out for the opener of rifle season, which was October 15th. And I was like, all right, brother, you're up. Like, let's go look for this buck. He was hanging out with eight
Mm-hmm.
other deer, and there's a couple good 4 points in there too. And he'd only shot in a forked horn in the past. So he was like, yeah, good 4 point. And I was like, and there's a chance we find my target buck. And so sure enough, right at first light, the deer are where the deer are supposed to be. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
bucks are back. And so we sneak in there to like 180 yards, and my brother shoots this this deer turns and looks. He's kind of wide. I was like, dude, that's a good looking buck. He's like, okay, I'm gonna take him. Boom, that deer. Well, he shoots and then hits it and then shoots again and drops it, and we're like celebrating, all
Yeah.
excited like you do for your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like something clicked. I was like, wait, 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 there's more deer here. So then I was like, let's double. And I get set up on my tripod and I'm watching the deer kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
walk kind of quickly across the hillside in front of us. And they're at like 220 yards or something. The first buck walks through an opening and I was like, no, not going to shoot that buck. The next buck walks through and I was like, no. He turns and looks. He had a nice frame, but he was like a big 2x2. And I was like, no,
A
not going to shoot that
Forkosaurus.
buck. Yeah, he was. I almost like at first glance, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, maybe no. And the next buck walks through, and I see some extra tines and stuff, and I was like, yep, boom, and I shoot that deer, and he drops. And so we go over to my brother's buck, and he's like this sweet, classic 4 point mule
Quintessential
deer,
4x4. Yeah.
quintessential, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all excited, he's not like a giant buck, but he's like just like a great
Representative of the age.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we walk over to my deer and we get closer and I see the stickers sticking out of the sagebrush. And I'm like, dude, it's my buck. I shot my buck from July. And
It was
that
that
was,
one.
yeah, it was my buck from July. He just broke 180. And I was just like, holy crap, dude, we doubled. It was one of my favorite
That's
moments
awesome.
ever is, and he shot first. So I didn't feel like I wasn't screwing him out of a buck.
Yeah.
So
I
it
was
was
like,
great.
get out of the way, kid.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's great. Whenever I come across those photos or that deer is hanging up in his house and I'm going to visit him next week, we always talk about it when I
Right.
come over. So
That's
that's
awesome.
probably one of my favorites. It's him and my brother and I.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Jaden, I really appreciate you coming on this and having this chat with me today, man. It's been a pleasure. Um, you're actually my very
Certainly.
first big person.
Oh, geez, don't even.
So no,
uh,
it's been outstanding.
well, I appreciate you asking me to be on. Yeah, as much as you might call me an industry guy or whatever, I really just appreciate that you find what I have to say valuable, and thanks for letting me come on and
Yeah,
chat with you
I'm
for
a
an hour.
regular listener on what you put out. So if you please do me a favor and tell everybody what you do and rep your business.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Um, so we kind of mentioned it, but I run Hunt West Planning Company, which is essentially like a travel agency for hunters. And more than that, I'm trying to help people understand the why when they come out hunting out west and understand why they would choose a place over another place to go hunt and put together a really good plan so that they come out and aren't just wandering around not knowing what they're doing.
Right.
uh, Especially it's just like what we're talking about. If you're getting out and you're an adult hunter and you're getting out west for the first time, my goal is to make sure that person comes out with as much good information as possible to have a really enjoyable hunt. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to get something every time, but they're going to know what to expect
Mm-hmm.
and be prepared for whatever their hunt throws at them. So, if anyone wants to check that out, it's on Instagram. It's Hunt West Planning Co. or my website is huntwestplanning.com. So, thanks for that plug. I
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate you letting me do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and let's full disclosure, everybody. We're going to be getting together over the course of the next several weeks and whatnot, and start looking at 2026 and really nail that down. So I can take my youngest. Well, I'm going to take all the kids, but I really would like to see my girl shoot a really decent buck. So
Yeah, you're getting a great position to do it too.
it'd
So
be
I'm
fun.
excited to talk with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
All right, man. That's a pod.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Live out here for the rest of my days.